Over the years, I've developed some unpopular opinions on eating disorders. And in this video, I'm going to compile all of those unpopular or unorthodox opinions. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Kevin Burciaga, and here at The Rational Eater, I am making eating disorder recovery simple. The point of this video isn't to be provocative or inflammatory. These are just views that I have developed, and I don't see a lot of other people saying them. These unpopular opinions are not in any order, just as a disclaimer. My first one is about triggers. There are no triggers, you are the only trigger. When you think about triggers, what do you think about? You think about stress, anxiety, a fight you had with a loved one. Do you think about work? Do you think about fear? All of those could be triggers. So the thing is, you never know what exactly is the cause of your eating disorder. You never know exactly what caused the last episode. You can guess. You can make a good guess, but you never know exactly what it is. The only reason you binge or you purge, you overeat, whatever, is because you give yourself permission to do it. You give yourself some reason. There's some thought in your head that says, yes, go do that. We're not machines. We're not algorithms here. Nothing in the environment can make you do it. It can influence you. It can definitely bias your choice. But in the end, it can't make you move your hands or move your mouth. It might not seem like you have control, and I understand. I understand what a compulsion feels like. But in the end, you have the final say. And before you proceed with an episode, there is always some reason or thought that you give yourself. One really good exercise is to ask yourself, how do I justify this? Why am I doing this? What reasons do I give myself? That's really important. Focus less on triggers and more on reasons. The second unpopular opinion I have is about intuitive eating. And that is, intuitive eating won't work for everybody. If you're an intuitive eater, or you read intuitive eating, or you worked with some intuitive eating nutritionist or coach or whatever, and you got great results, great. I'm not going to argue with results. But it's not going to resonate with a large portion of the population. And I hate to bring race and gender onto this channel, but I think this is a valid observation, and I think it's something worth mentioning. I don't see a lot of minorities or a lot of men talking about intuitive eating. I don't see a lot of male trainers or nutritionists or coaches saying how wonderful intuitive eating is. I don't see any bros talking about intuitive eating. I read intuitive eating a long time ago. It was interesting. It was like, wow, this is a pretty good book, but it never went fully intuitive. It never became the book that changed everything. I never latched on to intuitive eating. It appears to me that intuitive eating only appeals to a certain demographic. And if it's only appealing or resonating with one part of the population, that means we need to find alternative approaches for other people, like minorities and like men. Doesn't mean intuitive eating is wrong. It just means we need to find different approaches. Why does intuitive eating not appeal to men? I don't know. I've been thinking about that. Why does it not appeal to men? Why don't we see more men talking about it? If you have a theory, let me know in the comments below. And again, if you're doing intuitive eating and you're getting results, great. I'm not going to argue with that. More on intuitive eating in a future video. My third unpopular opinion is that we need to talk about numbers. Okay? It's okay to talk about pounds. It's okay to talk about calories. It's okay to talk about waist size. These are real numbers. They exist. They matter to people. They matter to our health to a certain extent. And it's okay to talk about them. I go into some of these forums or these Facebook groups, and if you even mention pounds, if you even mention calories, you get kicked out of the group. I don't think this is right. These are real concepts. We have to be able to talk about real numbers. We have to be able to talk about real things. We can't pretend like they don't exist. Okay, remember, I said there are no triggers. Numbers cannot trigger you to do anything. They're just numbers. That's all it is. Just like bad words are just words. They can't do anything. If you have any sort of fitness goal or weight loss goal, then you will definitely have to talk about numbers. Number 4, you don't have a disease or an illness. Eating disorders are not a disease or an illness. An illness is like having the beer bug, okay? A lot of people got ill in the last year. That's a real illness, okay? That's a real disease. But because you are abusing yourself with food, because you are making bad choices with food, doesn't mean you have an illness, doesn't mean you have a disease. Eating disorders are a behavioral problem. It's a disorder for sure, but it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your brain. It's just you're making an error when you make decisions. That's all it is. It's a learning error. It's a decision-making error, but it's not a disease. This is a good thing. It means that you have control over this. If it's a behavioral problem, you can modify your behavior with conscious thought. It's not an overnight process. It's not always easy, but you can do it. Whereas a disease, how do you treat that? You better hope you have good therapeutics or good antibodies to beat it. Cancer, for example, that's a disease. That's not a behavioral problem. You didn't ask for cancer, nobody does. A few cells in your body started misbehaving and then they started affecting the other systems of your body. That is a true disease. My next one is diets work. Okay, how many times have you heard diets don't work? Diets don't work. And let's assess this, because what is a diet? Everybody's on a diet. The standard American diet. A lot of people are on the standard American diet. They're not getting good results, that's for sure. But everybody is on a diet. Even if you're not on a diet, you're still on a diet, if that makes sense. Look at what you ate yesterday and today. Okay, that was your diet. But I think when people say diets don't work, what they're saying is intentional weight loss doesn't work. I don't think that's true at all. In fact, I know that's not true. There are lots of people who have decided to intentionally lose weight and they've lost it and they've kept it off. And you hear this statistic, the 95% of diets fail statistic, which I think is kind of bogus. I want to look at that number. What is the origin of that number, by the way? I need to do some research on that, but something tells me it's not true because there are people that that have lost weight and have kept it off. It's not hard if you do it right. Weight loss isn't that hard, but you have to eat enough to sustain yourself today while also creating a large enough deficit that you cause weight loss and you tap into your fat stores. That's why I say weight loss is like kicking a field goal. And I know I'm making an American analogy here, but the ball can't go too far to the right, can't go too far to the left. It has to go right here. Well, weight loss is the same way. Eat too little and you're miserable. Eat too much and you don't create the deficit. But intentional weight loss works, and sometimes it's necessary. And a lot of people have lost weight and they're healthier and they're happier for it. What doesn't work are highly restrictive diets, like eating nothing but iceberg lettuce. Yes, those diets won't work, but I've lost weight, I've kept it off, I didn't starve myself, I didn't feel too deprived. It just took time, and it wasn't that exciting, but it worked. My next opinion is vanity is okay and it's natural. It is okay to want to look good. It is okay to want to impress others. I hear the saying, you shouldn't care what other people think. You belong to a family, you belong to a church, you belong to a company. Okay, you should care what they think to a certain extent. Okay, but we're social creatures. We work in tribes. We're not these completely autonomous people. So vanity is okay. It is okay to want to be more attractive. It is a perfectly natural thing. And that leads me to my next unpopular opinion, which is the intersection of sexual attraction and eating disorders. I'm surprised this hasn't gotten more discussion, because how many people have developed an eating disorder because they felt inadequate, or they felt unattractive, or they felt like they couldn't attract the opposite sex, or whichever sex they're trying to attract, and they went on some crazy diet, some restrictive diet, and it backfired, and now they are a binge eater, now they're bulimic, now they're anorexic. A lot of eating disorders start because of highly restrictive diets. And why do people start highly restrictive diets? A lot of times it's because they want to increase their sexual attraction. How do I know? I did it myself, okay? I felt insecure, I felt unattractive, I didn't like my body. Even though I was in decent shape, but I thought I could do better. And so I went on a crazy diet and I spent the next 10 years trying to clean up the mess. How many times has that story played out? Millions of times over the years. And it all started in this attempt to improve their sexual attractiveness. The desire to be sexually attractive or to increase your sexual attractiveness is okay. But there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And a lot of eating disorders start because of a failed attempt to increase sexual attraction. If you want to increase your sexual attraction, there's a lot of ways to do it. A crash diet is not the way to do it. A celery juice diet is not the way to do it. The way to do it is to be consistent over a long period of time. That sounds boring, it sounds unsexy, it wouldn't get a lot of views on YouTube, but that's the reality. Again, increasing your sexual attractiveness is okay. Just make sure you don't wreck your health on the way. And speaking of sexual attraction, the desire to be sexually attractive can also be a powerful motivator in recovery. How do I know? Because it was for me. I looked in the mirror and I just saw I saw this huge sheath of fat covering my chest. And it bothered me. It bothered me all the time. I had to buy bigger clothes. My clothes didn't fit the same way. I was out of shape. I never wanted to take off my shirt. I skipped various social events over the years because I felt inadequate. I was self-conscious. I didn't recover because I wanted to be more sexually attractive, but that was one motivator. Let's not lie. Use that desire to be attractive to motivate you to recover. Obviously, being attractive shouldn't be the only reason you want to quit. Okay, there should be multiple reasons. Your longevity, your health, your teeth, your organs. There's a lot of reasons to recover. But use that desire to be attractive to motivate you. My next unpopular opinion is recovery is not always fun and it's not always glamorous. I see a lot of videos on YouTube that glamorize recovery. They make it look like it's fun and games. It's like eating 5,000 calories a day, it's eating all my fear foods, it's cheat meals, and stop. That might be great entertainment, but the reality is recovery is a lot more psychological. Okay, you have to challenge beliefs, you have to make new habits, you have to do things that you haven't done before, you have to push your limits, you have to learn to be uncomfortable. How do you put that on a YouTube video? You don't. Okay, that's why you don't see a lot of realistic recovery videos. Recovery is a lot more than just cooking your favorite meals all day. Sorry, but recovery is less glamorous, it's less visual than you think. It is a long-term process. For most people, it's gonna be several months. Changing these kinds of behaviors takes a while. You can't just download the latest, application update. I wish we could do that. The brain just doesn't work that way. It takes a long time. You have to be consistent to make new behaviors. My next unpopular opinion is that you shouldn't always follow your cravings. I know the intuitive eating crowd won't like this, but oh well. Okay, I hope I stimulate discussion on this. But cravings are not reliable. Like, I get cravings for things that I shouldn't have all the time. I get cravings to check email when I shouldn't. I get cravings to read headlines when I shouldn't. I get cravings for foods that I shouldn't eat. I have impulses all the time, okay? I'm just like anybody. But just because you have this temporary craving for something doesn't mean you should necessarily satisfy it. It doesn't necessarily indicate that there's some physiological deficit in your body. I've heard that too. If you have a craving for sugar, it's because your body needs sugar. No, maybe your body's craving sugar because it's fun to eat sugar. And it's very stimulating, right? And it elevates your mood and it temporarily alleviates whatever you're feeling. And if I have a craving for a drug or alcohol or something, it doesn't necessarily mean I should go have it. And cravings, they come and go. Don't always take them seriously. And notice that your body tends to crave the wrong things. And when I mean the wrong things, it tends to crave things that benefit you now at the expense of the future, because that's how your brain is designed. Your brain wants to get you through this day. It only wants to get you to tomorrow. It's not thinking about you in a week, in a month, in a year. It takes time to train your brain to do that. You have to think long term. Again, it's not very fun. Not very fun to start thinking long term because it might be months or years before you can cash in. But the next time you get a craving for something, let's just say like ice cream, see how long it lasts. And my guess is the craving will be here 1 minute and gone the next. My next unpopular opinion is that cutting out processed food and a lot of tasty foods isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you have a history of binging or bulimia, it's probably not a bad idea to get rid of these foods for a sustained period of time, maybe forever. I never went back to those foods. I don't feel deprived. I don't feel like I need to have 10 Cliff Bars in a day. I don't feel like I need to have brownies and apple pie and ice cream. I've had my fill. I know what it tastes like. I've moved on. Okay, there's no room for those things in my life except for some special occasions. But if you're trying to recover, if you're trying to maintain these habits, what's the point of having these foods? It'll bring you a few moments of, gustatory pleasure. It'll make you feel good for a few minutes and then it's gone. If you don't have them, if you don't have these processed foods in your diet, they can't hurt you. On the other hand, if you want to include processed foods in your post-recovery diet, you can do that. Now, I would go several months without having that. You want to give yourself time to create new habits, better habits. You want to give yourself time to heal. If after several months you feel like you can incorporate those foods again, great, but you don't have to. What I recommend is that you eat from all the different food groups, you eat a variety of foods, you get all your macros, you get all your micros, and you certainly give yourself enough calories to do whatever you want to do during the day. But you can live a very healthy and happy life without processed or tasty foods. Finally, my last unpopular opinion is the word recovery sucks. It's just a stupid word. I don't like the word. I think we need a new word. I like the word moving on. Okay, I know it's technically 2 words. It's a phrasal verb, right? But that's what it is. You know, you're not recovering. You're not going back to where you were. You're never going to go back to where you were. An eating disorder will fundamentally change who you are. I hope that you learn a lot of things about yourself. I hope that you discover a lot of things about your brain, your habits, and who you are on the way. It can be a really good learning process. But don't go back. Look forward. That's why I think it's moving on. You're moving on from this habit. You're moving on from this cycle that you're enmeshed in. You're moving on to better things. You know, don't be sad that you won't be able to binge anymore. Don't be sad that you won't be able to purge anymore. You should be really excited about that because better things are on the other side. How can The Rational Eater help you? 3 ways. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I release new content every week. Number 2, don't forget to join my email list. I send emails at least 6 days a week. And when you do that, you can watch a free video that I put together that is not on YouTube that explains my methodology, desire de-escalation, and how it can help you stop binge eating, stop bulimia, and stop chewing and spitting. And finally, number 3, join my free Facebook group, The Rational Eating Masterclass. The links for all of those are in the box below. Hope you found this video educational and entertaining. If you liked this video, I'm sure you'll like one of the other videos that you see on the screen. Click one of them and I'll see you there. And as always, eat the way you're designed to.